Yeah. So today is the full moon, the new moon, excuse me. And welcome to this 3-card reading that I've just done with my lovely community group. We have these 2 court cards that come up that are the King and the reversed Queen of Pentacles, and sitting on top of them afterwards came this wonderful Empress. So we have 2 beautiful court cards which represent 2 very strong, mature qualities inside of ourselves, which is something that the cards are asking for us to question. And it's specifically asking us to question this whole realm of our relationship with the Pentacle, which is equally our relationship with our sense of worth and our sense of how we relate to being worthy, to being wealthy, to being healthy, to being abundant, to being connected, to being very much a part of this physical world. Because this King and the Queen are the archetypes inside of us and the personality traits that we have that are most maturely interacting with the world and with our physicality in a more conscious sense. Now the King is sitting upright in his normal conscious way, and he's so connected and so comfortable in his world and so strong in his sense of self that he knows his duty. He's that part of us who knows what he's here to do, and he knows that there's this really strong material, physical protection providing type energetic, which is the stereotype he represents and the job and the duty that he feels he has in our lives. So he's that part of us that gets the work done. He's that part of us that knows how to hold space for what you might say is our material ambition. He knows how to create a healthy physical home for us. He'll provide for that. And he does a great job at that, but he does a great job when our feminine is really connected to our bodies, which allows us to know what we need, which allows us to feel and sense where our lack is and where our abundance is, so that we can say no when there's too much of something, and we can say, yeah, okay, we've got to step it up when there's not enough of something. And this is the relationship between the masculine and the feminine when it comes down to our physical work, what we choose to do and how we choose to spend our material energy, how we choose to look after ourselves and feed ourselves, and what experiences we give ourselves, and how we train, tune in, look after our physical self and our home. This King seems quite chaotic because he's really connected to the world around him, and he is a little bit chaotic. And the Queen is a lot less chaotic because she is connected to the outer world, but she's much more connected to her inner world. And yet this Queen being reversed speaks about a slightly twisted version of that inner connection that we might have with our bodies. And so she brings up the questions of, am I treating myself well? She brings up the questions of, are my habits in what I do on a daily basis physically, are they the healthiest habits for me? Am I feeding myself with the best food? Am I nurturing myself in the highest way, in the best way? Am I feeding myself in ways that I shouldn't? Am I giving myself or feeding my physical body with activities that are just out of habit and not out of present moment needs? Am I acting out of unworthiness? Am I fixated on the way I look physically? Am I worried about my appearance? Am I worried about the way my physical body is? Am I getting carried away with the materiality of myself? Is the physicality of life painful for me? Difficult? Challenging? Are there new ways that I can nurture myself? Because unless this king gets those messages right, or gets the right messages from that more feminine part of ourself, that queen inside of ourself, he won't know how to direct he won't know how to hold space. He won't know how to change maybe some of the ways he is holding space and protecting and providing for us. This queen finds change of environment quite challenging. So if we are facing some changes, some very physical, material changes, our body asking for us to do something differently, listen. It's time to listen. The king will help us, and the king will help us act upon what we hear, but we need to listen properly. The Empress comes out in this reading, and she's the major arcana card, which speaks about this archetypal lesson that sits above these two. That they're not having a row. They're not that inner couple that are having a bad day and maybe having conflict, but the king's getting the wrong messages from our inner connection with ourselves. We're not maybe nurturing ourselves in the right way, so our need to check in is important. And this is tricky because needs change from not just 1 year to the next, but they change from one day to the next sometimes. And that spontaneity, or that ability to be flexible, is not one of the greatest qualities of any of the Court of Pentacles. And so knowing that this is a challenge, the king needs to be told properly what is a more moment-to-moment or a more time-specific, beautiful way to look after ourselves. And the Empress comes in to speak about the unworthiness that this queen may well feel. She is that codependent part of ourself that finds it challenging when others do not or when her self-worth is challenged. She finds her self-judgment and her lack, ways that she might judge herself materially, physically. She finds herself focusing on that. It might be the part of us that's focusing a little bit too much on that instead of the abundance that we have as a part of our natural inheritance from the divine, which the Empress speaks about. If we can't, and this is a great message for me, this is a fantastic message for me too, because I wouldn't say I'm the king of abundance, but And I love the fact the Empress is a beautiful feminine archetype, but it's not the female inside of us. It's just that welcoming arms opening channel of divine energy that we all are here to recognize we have, that we can own that realization. We can own the ability to manifest things without effort. Not because we don't need to do stuff, but we don't need to exert a huge amount of force on the outer world in order to create something which is abundance. We can also welcome abundance into our lives through intention and through connection. It's very difficult to feel that connectedness to the divine, and that's the challenge that the Empress speaks about. Feel it. Feel that connectedness to everything around you, to life around you, to the abundance of nature around you, to the abundance of all of the universe that's so vibrant and so full everywhere. When you connect to that, then you can be a part of that abundance. You can be the channel for that abundance, and it's a very different journey to abundance than is a masculine journey. It's a feminine way of allowing it in. It's the difference between a flower and a bee that can make a bee and all those beehives, even though they're feminine too, they can make a bunch. They can do a lot of work and do a lot of activity and make a lot of great, wonderful honey. But a flower will just sit there, soaking up the sun and soaking up the nutrients from the soil in her roots, and she will create that nectar inside of her without that outer effort, just with that inner consciousness. And there's an effort that this Queen of Pentacles is making inside of us that it means that the king is not necessarily doing his job the right way, and he would love to. He would love to direct our actions and our focus on what we choose to do and how we look after ourselves properly. But there's a part of us, part of our femininity, which is maybe judging our vulnerability instead of seeing that receptive feminine vulnerability as one of our greatest strengths. And that's a little new moon reading. Maybe we can end that here. I'd love to hear your comments, and I hope this serves in some way. Have a wonderful week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks until the new full moon. Much love.